The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a deep hum. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked through them with her head held high. Behind her, 3 human officers followed in crisp Navy uniforms. Their boots clicked against the polished crystal floor. The sound echoed in the enormous circular room. Around them, the representatives of 40 alien species watched from elevated seats. Some had multiple eyes. Others had scales, fur, or skin that glowed with soft light. They all turned to look at the human delegation. Many of their expressions showed the same thing. Contempt. Sarah had expected this. She had read the reports. She knew what these aliens thought of humanity. They saw humans as children playing with spaceships. Earth had only been traveling between stars for 200 years. Most of these species had been doing it for thousands. She reached the center of the chamber and stopped. A holographic display activated above her head. It showed Earth rotating slowly. Then it showed humanity's 12 colony worlds, small, insignificant compared to the vast empires around her. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Sarah began. Her voice was steady and clear. Humanity comes before you today to request full membership in this assembly. We have met all the requirements. We have established peaceful contact. We have developed faster than light travel. We have colonized multiple worlds. We ask to be recognized as equals. A sound like thunder filled the chamber. It took Sarah a moment to realize it was laughter. The largest alien in the room stood up. He was nearly 4 meters tall with red-scaled skin and 4 arms. His species was called the Krethax. They controlled 300 star systems and had the largest military fleet in the galaxy. His name was High Commander Vreth, equals. Vreth's voice boomed. You dare come here with your toy fleet and claim equality? We have studied your technology. You still use projectile weapons, missiles and bullets like primitives. You have no energy shields. Your ships are slow. Your colonies are weak. Another alien spoke up. This one looked like a large insect with purple chitin armor. She represented the Seekar Dominion. Humanity's worlds are rich in resources they cannot properly defend. The Council should not grant them membership. Instead, their worlds should be administered by those with the wisdom to use them properly. More laughter. Sarah felt her jaw tighten. Behind her, she heard one of her officers take a sharp breath. She raised her hand slightly, a signal to stay calm. We came here in peace, Sarah said. We came following every protocol. We came with respect for this council and its laws. Respect? Vreth laughed again. You bring 3 destroyers and 1 cruiser to council space. 4 ships. We have 500 warships in orbit around this very planet right now. That is power. That is what earns respect. The Veloon Collective Observer spoke for the first time. The Veloon were ancient beings of pure energy contained in crystalline bodies. They rarely involved themselves in council politics. The Krethax speak truth. Humanity is not ready for this responsibility. Perhaps in another 1,000 years. Sarah looked around the chamber. She saw it clearly now. This was not going to be a discussion. This was an ambush. They had decided before she even arrived. The petition would be denied. And from the way the Seekar representative smiled, something worse was coming. We respectfully disagree, Sarah said carefully, and we ask the council to reconsider. Vreth stepped down from his platform. His massive footsteps shook the floor as he approached. Let me be clear, human. Your petition is denied. Furthermore, the Krethax Empire formally claims the 3 human colony worlds in the Sigma sector. You will vacate them within 60 standard days. That is illegal under galactic law, Sarah replied. Her voice was cold now. Article 12 prohibits the seizure of colonized worlds. Article 12 applies to recognized species, the Seekar representative said sweetly. You are not recognized. Therefore, your colonies have no legal protection. Sarah reached slowly into her jacket pocket. Every weapon in the room instantly pointed at her. She pulled out a small communication device and held it up where everyone could see. You may want to reconsider. Vreth laughed the loudest of all. Is that a threat from you? With your 4 little ships against my armada? Through the massive windows of the chamber, the Krethax fleet became visible. 500 warships moved into position around the human escort vessels. They were enormous compared to the human ships. Their hulls glowed with charged weapons. Plasma arrays lit up like deadly stars. Sarah looked down at her device. She pressed a single button. Then she spoke clearly. Protocol Omega. Authorization Chen Alpha 7. What is that supposed to mean? Vreth asked. He was still smiling. "It means I gave you a chance," Sarah said quietly. "It means we tried to do this the peaceful way. It means you made a choice, and now you get to live with the consequences." Vreth gestured to the windows. "Your ships are surrounded. One word from me and they are destroyed. You have no leverage here, human." Sarah checked her watch. The smile that crossed her face made several nearby aliens take a step back. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew something important. Something the others did not know. 3 minutes, she said. 3 minutes until what? Vreth demanded. Sarah did not answer. She just stood there looking out the window at the stars, at the empty space at the edge of the solar system, empty space that would not stay empty for much longer. On the Krethax flagship, a young sensor officer noticed something strange on his display. A gravity anomaly at the edge of the system. Growing larger. He reported it to his superior. "Probably just sensor noise," his commander said. "Focus on the human ships." But the anomaly kept growing. And growing. And in exactly 3 minutes, reality itself would tear open. Sarah counted down silently in her head. 3, 2, 1. The sky began to darken. The Krethax fleet moved like a predator circling wounded prey. 500 warships adjusted their positions until the 4 human vessels were completely surrounded. There was nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. The aliens watching from the council chamber raised glasses of exotic drinks and toasted to the entertainment. "This will be educational. For them," the Seacar ambassador said with amusement. Captain Maria Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UN's Defiant. Her destroyer was old compared to some of the newer Earth vessels, but she loved it. Every scratch on its hull told a story. Every repair showed the skill of her crew. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. "Captain, we are being hailed," her communications officer reported. "Put it through." High Commander Vreth's face appeared on the main screen. His forearms were crossed. His expression showed complete confidence. "Human vessel Defiant, you are ordered to power down your weapons and engines. You will prepare to be boarded. Your crew will be taken into custody. Your ships will be claimed as prizes of war." Maria felt her hands tighten into fists. "Under what authority?" "We are in neutral space. We are a diplomatic escort operating under galactic law." "The law of the strong," Vreth replied. "That is the only authority that matters. Now comply or be destroyed." Maria looked at her tactical officer. He shook his head. The human fleet was outgunned at least 100 to 1. But she had her orders. Orders that came directly from Earth Command. Orders that were very specific. "Negative," Maria said clearly. "Under Article 7 of Galactic Law, we have the right to defend ourselves against unlawful aggression. We will not power down. We will not surrender." Vreth's smile vanished. "Then you will die. Let this be a lesson to your species about overconfidence." The communication cut off. Maria turned to her crew. "All hands, battle stations. Activate all defensive systems. If they want to fight, we will give them one." "Captain, we cannot win this," her tactical officer said quietly. "We do not have to win," Maria replied. "We just have to survive. Trust the plan." On the Krethax flagship, the Fist of Dominion, weapons officers received their orders. "Disable 1 human ship. Show them they are helpless. Make it humiliating." The massive dreadnought's main plasma cannon began to charge. Energy gathered in the weapon port until it glowed brighter than a sun. In the council chamber, aliens moved to the windows to watch. Some were recording it. This would be something to show their own populations. A warning about challenging the established powers. Sarah Chen stood at the window. Her face showed no emotion. Behind her, one of her officers whispered, "Ambassador, should we call for them to stand down?" "No," Sarah said softly. They knew this might happen. "They are ready." The Fist of Dominion fired. A beam of superheated plasma crossed the distance in seconds. It struck the UN's Valiant directly on its port side. The impact was devastating. The destroyer's hull buckled inward. Metal vaporized. Entire sections of the ship went dark as power failed. The Valiant began to spin slowly, trailing debris and frozen atmosphere. In the council chamber, aliens cheered. But the Valiant did not explode. Its hull was breached in 3 places, but the ship remained intact. Emergency bulkhead slammed shut. Backup power activated. The spin slowed and stopped as maneuvering thrusters fired. The ship was badly hurt but still alive. Impressive construction, the Valen observer noted. Most ships would have broken apart completely. They build like they are afraid of the dark, Vreth said dismissively. Too much armor, too much redundancy. It makes them slow and inefficient. On the Defiance Bridge, Maria watched her sister's ship struggle. Status of the Valiant? 53 casualties. Hull breaches on decks 5 through 7. Main power at 30%. But she is still with us, Captain. Helm, move us between the Valiant and that dreadnought. Captain, that will make us the next target. I know. Do it anyway. The Defiant moved forward. Its weapons were charged but not firing. They could not win a direct fight. They knew it. The Krethax knew it. Everyone knew it. But the Defiant still positioned itself as a shield for the wounded Valiant. In the council chamber, Sarah checked her watch again. 1 minute, Vreth's voice boomed through the chamber. You see? This is what happens when primitives pretend to be equals. Their ships burn. Their people die. And they learn their place in the universe. Sarah turned away from the window. She looked directly at Vreth. Her expression was calm. Too calm. It made some of the nearby aliens uncomfortable. You have made a mistake, she said. The only mistake was yours, Vreth replied. Coming here. Thinking you mattered? No, Sarah said. Your mistake was assuming that what you see is all there is. A young Krethax officer on the sensor station of the Fist of Dominion noticed the anomaly again. It was much larger now. He ran a full diagnostic. The sensors were working perfectly. The readings were real. Sir, I am detecting a massive gravity distortion at the edge of the system. It is growing exponentially. His commander glanced at the reading. Probably spatial interference from all our ships. Focus on the targets. Sir, with respect, this reading is unprecedented. It is as if something enormous is about to enter the system through slipspace. There is nothing enormous enough to create that kind of reading, the commander said, but doubt crept into his voice. Sarah counted down the final seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At the edge of the Velkara system, space itself began to tear. It was not the gentle shimmer of normal faster-than-light travel. This was different. This was violent. Reality opened like a wound, and something came through. The council chamber fell silent. Drinks slipped from alien hands and shattered on the floor. Eyes, all different colors and types, stared in disbelief at the windows. At the edge of the system, where there had been empty space, there was now a ship. But calling it a ship was like calling a mountain a rock. It was 15 kilometers long. Its hull was dark gray, covered in armor plating that looked like it could stop anything. Running lights activated along its length and the name became visible. UEN's Indomitable, then another tear in space. Another Mothership. UN's Unstoppable. Another. UN's Resilient. Another. 10 motherships, each one the size of a small city. Each one carrying enough firepower to crack a planet, and behind them the fleet emerged. Not 4 ships. 2,000 warships, battleships, carriers, cruisers, destroyers. They came through in perfect formation, spreading out across the system like a net. From the carriers, fighter craft began to launch. Thousands of them, small, fast, deadly. They formed up into attack wings. Vreth staggered backward. His face, which had been purple with anger, turned pale gray. That is impossible, he whispered. Sarah finally smiled. No, Commander. That is humanity. The human fleet moved through space with precision that seemed almost unnatural. Each ship knew exactly where to go. Each formation moved as one unit. The 2,000 warships spread out in a 3-dimensional sphere that slowly enclosed the Krethax forces. On the bridge of the lead mothership, the UN's Indomitable, Admiral James Hassan watched the tactical display. Every Krethax vessel was marked in red. Every human ship in blue. The blue was surrounding the red completely. Admiral, we are in position, his tactical officer reported. Open all channels. Every frequency. I want everyone to hear this. Across the Velkara system, every ship, every station, every communication device received the broadcast. Admiral Hassan's voice was deep and calm. It was the voice of someone who had done this before. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing. This is Admiral James Hassan of the United Earth Naval Fleet, 1st Armada. We are here to collect our diplomatic delegation. Any interference will be met with overwhelming force. This is your only warning. In the council chamber, Vreth finally found his voice. 1st Armada? You have more? Sarah nodded slowly. We have 15 numbered fleets. each comparable to what you see here. The 3rd Fleet guards our home system. The 7th patrols our outer colonies. The 9th and 11th are currently on training exercises near the Orion Spur. The 1st is our diplomatic response fleet. We bring it when we want to make a point. But your technology, the Seeker ambassador stammered. We studied it. You are inferior. No shields. Primitive weapons. You studied what we let you see, Sarah replied. You saw our merchant vessels, our survey ships, our light escorts. You assumed that was everything. That was your first mistake. The holographic display in the center of the chamber activated again. This time it showed detailed scans of the human fleet. The motherships each carried fighter wings of 1,200 craft. Missile batteries lined their hulls. Railgun emplacements covered every angle. Your second mistake, Sarah continued, was assuming that different meant inferior. You have energy shields. We have layered armor. You have plasma weapons. We have railguns that fire projectiles at 30% the speed of light. You have large crews. We have automation and artificial intelligence. Different approaches. Not worse, just different. One of the smaller alien species, a delegate from a peaceful mining consortium, spoke up nervously. But surely you did not bring this fleet for peaceful negotiations. We brought this fleet because we are not fools, Sarah said. Her voice was harder now. We studied you as well. We watched council sessions. We saw how you treat new species. We saw the pattern. Mockery, humiliation, exploitation. We came prepared for the reality, not the fantasy. On the Krethax flagship, panic was starting to set in. The tactical officer ran the numbers again and again. The results were always the same. Commander, if they attack, we have a 78% casualty projection. Maybe higher. Vreth's 4 fists clenched. They are bluffing. They would not dare attack the Krethax Empire. Sir, I recommend we withdraw. Withdraw? Vreth roared. We are the Krethax! We do not retreat from anyone! The Seeker representative in the council chamber apparently agreed. She activated her own communication channel. Seeker fleet, this is Ambassador Kresh. These humans have insulted us enough. Engage and destroy them. Sarah's head whipped around. Do not do this. We do not want war. But we will defend ourselves. You should have thought of that before threatening your betters, Kresh replied. 3 Seeker battlecruisers broke formation and accelerated toward the nearest human destroyer. Their weapons powered up. Particle beams and plasma torpedoes locked onto their target. Admiral Hassan saw it happen on his tactical display. He had hoped it would not come to this. But he had his orders. Orders that were very clear. If fired upon, respond with decisive force. Tactical weapons free on those 3 battlecruisers. Railgun batteries only. Standard penetrator rounds. Aye, sir, firing. The human response was immediate. 6 destroyers adjusted their position. Their railgun turrets rotated and locked on. Then they fired. The rounds were small. Just dense tungsten penetrators. But they moved at 90,000 kilometers per second. At that speed, they did not need explosives. Kinetic energy did all the work. The Seeker shields flickered as they tried to stop the rounds. They failed. The projectiles punched through the energy barriers like they were not there. Then they hit the hull. The first battlecruiser was hit by 18 rounds in 3 seconds. They entered through the forward section and exited through the engines. The ship simply came apart. It split into 2 pieces that spun away in different directions. The second battlecruiser tried to turn and present a smaller target. It was hit along its length. Rounds tore through it from bow to stern. Internal explosions rippled along its hull. It became a cloud of debris. The third battlecruiser's captain realized the mistake immediately. He fired his escape pods and broadcast surrender. The human railguns stopped firing. The battlecruiser drifted. Its hull breached in a dozen places, but its crew pods safely away. From first shot to last, 4.7 seconds had passed. The council chamber was absolutely silent. Aliens stared at the window where the 3 battlecruisers had been, where now there was only wreckage and escape pods. Warning shot complete, Admiral Hassan's voice came through again. Next one will not be aimed to minimize casualties. Stand down now or be destroyed. Kresh's face had gone pale. Her species' color changed with emotion, and right now she was the color of fear. This is impossible. Our shields are the best in the galaxy. Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons, Sarah explained. She kept her voice calm and educational like a teacher. Plasma, lasers, particle beams. They work by dispersing energy. But our railgun rounds are solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. Your shields cannot disperse mass. They can only try to slow it down. And at these velocities, slowing down does not help enough. The Valoon observer floated closer. Its crystalline body pulsed with light as it processed what it had seen. You deliberately maintained inferior-appearing technology. You let us think you were weak. We maintained effective technology, Sarah corrected. Railguns are simple, reliable, hard to jam or disable. They have few moving parts, and as you just saw, they work. Sometimes the old ways are old because they are good. Vreth had not moved. He stood frozen, staring at the tactical displays showing the human fleet. 2,000 ships. All around his 500, all waiting for the order to fire. You planned this from the beginning, he said quietly. We planned for every possibility, Sarah replied. We hoped for peace. We prepared for war. That is what smart species do. Admiral Hassan's voice came through again. Krathak's fleet, you have 2 minutes to begin withdrawal from this system. After that, my orders are to neutralize any threats to the diplomatic mission. I strongly suggest you do not become a threat. On the human motherships, the main weapons began to charge. These were not railguns. These were mass drivers designed to break apart asteroids for mining. But they would work just as well on ships. The energy signatures were impossible to miss. Vreth looked at Sarah. For the first time, she saw something other than arrogance in his eyes. She saw fear and understanding. Why did you give us a warning, he asked. You could have destroyed us before we knew you were here. Sarah's expression softened just slightly. Because we are not monsters. We do not want to kill you. We want you to understand us. We want you to respect us. And if possible, we want to work with you. But we will not be victims. Not ever again. The human fleet waited. The Krathak's fleet sat motionless. And everyone in the council chamber held their breath. The next 60 seconds would determine if this became a battle or a breakthrough. The standoff stretched for 90 long seconds. Nobody moved. Nobody fired. The only sound in the council chamber was breathing. Different types of breathing from different types of lungs, but all with the same rhythm, the rhythm of fear. Then Vreth raised one of his 4 hands. Krathak's fleet, stand down. Begin withdrawal to the outer system. Do not power weapons. Do not make any aggressive moves. Sarah let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. Around the chamber, other aliens did the same. A war had been avoided. Barely. But then the Seekar ambassador made a sound of disgust. The mighty Krathaks running from primitives. We are not afraid. Before Sarah could say anything, before anyone could stop her, Kresh activated her communication channel again. All Seekar vessels, this is Ambassador Kresh. Our honor has been insulted. Attack pattern Omega. For the glory of the Dominion! 12 more Seekar warships broke formation. They accelerated toward the human fleet from multiple vectors. Their weapons were already charged and ready. No, Sarah shouted. But it was too late. Admiral Hassan had no choice. His fleet was in a combat formation. His crews were at battle stations, and 12 enemy warships were approaching with clear hostile intent. All ships engage hostile contacts. Fire at will. What happened next was not a battle. It was a demonstration. The human fleet did not panic, did not rush. Each ship calmly acquired its targets. Railguns rotated smoothly on their mounts. Targeting computers calculated trajectories accounting for the enemy's speed, direction, and attempts at evasion. Then they fired. The volume of fire was staggering. Hundreds of railgun rounds crossed the distance in seconds. The Seekar ships tried to dodge. Their pilots were skilled. Their ships were fast. But you cannot dodge something moving at 90,000 kilometers per second. By the time you see it, it has already hit you. The Seekar warships came apart like toys. Hulls ruptured. Engines exploded. Some ships managed to get a few shots off, but their weapons hit nothing. The human ships used their maneuvering thrusters to shift position just enough. The plasma bolts passed through empty space. It took 17 seconds to destroy 11 Seekar warships. The 12th captain broadcast an immediate surrender and went completely dark, powering down everything except life support. In those 17 seconds, not a single human ship was damaged. Not one. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens shouted at each other in dozens of languages. Some were angry, some were terrified, some were trying to leave. Sarah's voice cut through the noise. Silence! Surprisingly, everyone stopped talking. They all turned to look at her. This small human who had walked in with just 4 ships, who had been laughed at, who now stood in front of a fleet that had just destroyed 14 warships without taking a scratch. "You want to know how this is possible?" Sarah said. Her voice carried to every corner of the chamber. "You want to know how a primitive species could do this? I will tell you." She walked to the central holographic display and activated a new program. Images began to appear above everyone's heads. Images of Earth. "This is our world," Sarah said. "One planet. Average size. Average resources. Nothing special. But for thousands of years we fought each other on this planet. We perfected the art of war. We created weapons to kill our own kind. We built fortresses and siege engines. We developed tactics and strategies. We learned through blood and death and pain." The images changed. They showed ancient battles, medieval castles, cannons firing, trenches from the First World War, nuclear explosions from the Second World War. "We killed each other by the millions," Sarah continued. Her voice was hard now. "We burned our own cities. We poisoned our own air and water. We came so close to destroying ourselves completely. And through all of that horror, we learned lessons." The images changed again. This time they showed spacecraft under construction, training facilities, war colleges. When we finally unified, when we finally stopped fighting each other, we took everything we had learned and pointed it outward. Not because we wanted to conquer, but because we never wanted to be helpless again. We remembered what it felt like to be the weak ones, to be the victims. The Valen observer spoke. Its voice was thoughtful. "You built this entire military because you were afraid." "Yes," Sarah admitted. "We were afraid, but we were also smart. We knew that in a galaxy full of species with millions of years of history, we would be seen as primitives, as prey. So we made sure that anyone who tried to make us prey would regret it." A new image appeared. It showed a human warship under construction. The image zoomed in to show the layers of armor, the redundant systems, the backup power supplies. "You laughed at our lack of shields," Sarah said. "But shields can fail. They can be overloaded. They require massive amounts of power. So we built armor instead. Layered armor with self-sealing compartments. If you breach our hull, that section seals itself off. The rest of the ship keeps fighting." Another image. This one showed a railgun being tested. "You mocked our primitive weapons," Sarah continued. "But our railguns are simple technology. There is almost nothing to break. No complex energy matrices. No exotic particles that need to be contained. Just electromagnets and tungsten. And they work. Every single time." "But the volume of fire," Vreth said. He had been quiet, but now he spoke up. "We counted over 300 railgun emplacements on just one of your destroyers. How do you power all of that?" Sarah smiled. "We learned to miniaturize our reactors. Each railgun has its own power supply. If you destroy one, the others keep working. Redundancy, survivability, those are our watchwords." "And your crews?" the Valen asked. "Our scans show your ships have relatively small crew complements. Automation and artificial intelligence," Sarah explained. "We developed AI to assist with everything from navigation to targeting. Our crews focus on strategy and decision-making. The computers handle the rest. It means we can operate larger fleets with fewer people, and fewer people means fewer casualties if things go wrong." The display changed again. This time it showed all 15 of Earth's numbered fleets, their positions throughout human space, their capabilities, their readiness levels. "This is what you did not bother to learn about us," Sarah said. "You saw 4 ships and assumed that was everything. You did not ask questions. You did not investigate. You saw what you expected to see and stopped looking." She turned to face Vreth directly. "You asked earlier why we even wanted to join your council peacefully. That is a fair question, and I will give you an honest answer." Sarah's expression became sad. "Because we have seen enough war. We know what it costs. We have buried billions of our own people. We have stood in the ruins of our cities and wept. We came to the stars hoping to leave that behind, hoping to find species who were better than us, who had learned to live in peace." She gestured around the chamber. "Instead, we found the same patterns we left behind. The strong dominating the weak. The old powers protecting their positions. Species like the Seekar viewing others as resources to exploit. We had hoped for better." The chamber was silent again. But this time it was a different kind of silence. Not fear, something else. Shame, perhaps. "We do not want to be your enemy," Sarah said quietly. "We came here with an open hand. You saw weakness. That was your mistake, not ours. We showed you our strength not to threaten you, but to make you understand. We will not be victims. We will not be conquered. We will not allow our people to be enslaved or our worlds to be taken. She looked around at all the assembled aliens. But we still hope for peace. We still believe that cooperation is better than conflict. The fleet you see is our insurance, our guarantee of safety. But it is not who we want to be. Admiral Hassan's voice came through the speakers. Ambassador Chen, all Krethak's vessels have withdrawn to the outer system. The Seekar survivors have surrendered, awaiting further instructions. Sarah nodded, even though the Admiral could not see her. Thank you, Admiral. Maintain defensive positions. Do not pursue. We are still in negotiations. She turned back to the Council. So here is where we stand. You can recognize humanity as equals. You can work with us to build something better. Or you can continue to treat us as inferiors. But understand this. If you choose the second path, we will defend ourselves. And after today, you know exactly what that means. Breath stepped forward slowly. You have made your point, Ambassador Chen. What happens now? 3 days later, the Galactic Council reconvened. The atmosphere was completely different from the first meeting. No one was laughing now. No one was making jokes about primitive humans. The human fleet still hung in space above them, a constant reminder of what had changed. Sarah walked into the chamber with the same calm confidence as before. But this time, when she reached the center, aliens stood up. Not to mock her, to show respect, or perhaps fear. Sometimes those looked the same. Members of the Galactic Council, Sarah began. We have had 3 days to think about what happened. 3 days for cooler heads to prevail. I hope we have all learned something from this experience. She activated the holographic display, but instead of showing military might, it showed a document. A treaty, one that humanity had been writing for those 3 days. Humanity withdraws its petition to join the Council as a junior member, Sarah said. Several aliens looked confused. Instead, we are informing the Council that Earth will be taking a seat as a full member with all associated rights and privileges, including veto power. Uproar. Aliens shouted objections. This was unprecedented. New species always entered as junior members. They earned full status over decades or centuries. Sarah waited for the noise to die down. We are not asking for permission. We are informing you of reality. The Council can accept this, or the Council can continue without humanity. We are content either way. But those are the only 2 options. Vreth stood. He looked tired, older somehow. And if we refuse? Then humanity develops its own alliances, Sarah replied. We have already been contacted by 17 species who are not on the Council. Smaller species, weaker species, ones who have been ignored or exploited. They see what we did here. They want to talk about mutual defense agreements, about cooperation. The implications were clear. Humanity could create a rival power block, one that might challenge the Council's authority. This is blackmail, the Seekar representative said. A different one than before. Ambassador Kresh had been recalled by her government in disgrace. No, Sarah corrected. This is negotiation from a position of strength. You understand that. You have been doing it to others for centuries. Now you are on the receiving end. What else do you demand? Vreth asked. Sarah brought up another section of the treaty. The Seekar Dominion will pay reparations to humanity for the unprovoked attack on our vessels. 5 billion credits. Additionally, they will withdraw from the 3 disputed systems in the Sigma sector and recognize them as human territory. The new Seekar representative looked like she wanted to argue, but she nodded stiffly. Her government had already agreed. They had no choice. The Krethak's Empire will surrender their forward military bases in the Terran expansion zone. Those bases will be dismantled. No Krethak's military vessels will enter human space without prior authorization. Vreth's jaw tightened, but he also nodded. Those bases had been intended for a future invasion of human space. Now they were bargaining chips. Most importantly, Sarah continued, we are proposing a new council law. Aggression based on technological prejudice or perceived weakness will be considered a violation of galactic peace. Species who engage in such aggression will face collective action from the council. You want us to protect weak species? Someone asked incredulously. I want you to stop preying on them, Sarah said. The strong should protect the weak, not exploit them. That is what civilization means, or should mean. The Velen observer pulsed with light, a noble sentiment. But enforcing such a law would require significant change in how the Council operates. Then change, Sarah said simply. Evolve, become better, or become irrelevant. Those are your choices. For a long moment no one spoke. Then Vreth laughed. It was not the mocking laughter from 3 days ago. It was different. Almost admiring. You truly are remarkable, he said. You came here expecting the worst from us. You were prepared for it, and when we delivered exactly that, you turned it into leverage. How very human. We are practical, Sarah agreed. We have to be. We are still the newcomers here. Still the small fish in a very big ocean, but we are also survivors. And we learn quickly, the villain spoke again. Perhaps we needed this humiliation. We had grown complacent, comfortable. We had forgotten that strength comes not from technology alone, but from will, from unity, from the hard lessons learned through suffering. The humans have reminded us of that. So you will support our membership? Sarah asked. I will, the Valen said. But understand, Ambassador Chen, this changes everything. The balance of power in the galaxy shifts today. Some will resent you for it. Some will fear you. You have made enemies. We made those enemies the moment we became strong enough to not be conquered, Sarah replied. At least now it is open. Honest, no more pretending. The vote was called. Species by species, they voted on humanity's membership. Many votes were reluctant. Several abstained in protest. But in the end, the result was clear. Humanity would join the Galactic Council as a full member. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Mission accomplished. After the session ended, Vreth approached her privately. They stood at the observation window, looking out at the human fleet that was preparing to depart. Only the original 4 escort ships would remain. I have a question, Vreth said, and I would appreciate an honest answer. I will try, Sarah replied. Your species has this fleet, this power. You could have simply conquered us. Taken what you wanted by force. Why did you not? Why go through all of this diplomatic theater? Sarah was quiet for a moment. She looked out at Earth's ships, at the thousands of crew members aboard them, people with families, with dreams, with lives beyond war. Because we remember what war costs, she finally said. We have buried billions, Commander. We have seen our cities burn. We have held dying children in our arms. We have done terrible things to each other and lived with the scars. She turned to face him. When we came to the stars, we promised ourselves we would be better, that we would try every peaceful option before resorting to violence. The fleet is our insurance policy, proof that we will not be victims, but it is not who we want to be. And yet you destroyed 14 Sikaar warships without hesitation, Vreth pointed out. We gave warnings, Sarah said. Multiple warnings. We offered peaceful options. They chose to attack. At that point we defended ourselves. That is different from seeking war. Vreth studied her face. You truly mean that? You truly want peace? Of course we do, Sarah said. War is easy, Commander. Any fool can start one. Peace is hard. Peace requires patience, understanding, and compromise. It requires being willing to look past differences. We came here with an open hand, offering friendship. You spat on it. She gestured to the fleet. So we showed you our other hand, the one with the gun. Not because we want to use it, but because we need you to understand that we can, that we will if we must. But the offer of friendship still stands. It has always stood. Vreth was silent for a long time. Finally, he extended one of his hands, the human gesture of greeting that his species had adopted from studying Earth cultures. Then perhaps we should start again, he said. Without the assumptions. Without the prejudice. As equals. Sarah took his hand and shook it. His grip was strong enough to crush her bones, but he was careful. Gentle. It was a start. Over the next weeks, the human fleet departed. The motherships jumped away first, returning to their patrol routes. Then the battle groups. Then the cruiser squadrons. Finally, only the 4 original escort ships remained. But everything had changed. On Earth, life continued normally. Children played in parks. Artists created. Scientists researched. Most people never knew how close they had come to war. The government kept it quiet. There was no reason to frighten people with what might have been. Admiral Hassan filed his final report. Mission successful. Minimal casualties. The galaxy now understands humanity's position. Recommend continued vigilance and diplomatic engagement. In the Krethax Empire, military strategists rewrote their threat assessments. Humanity went from a minor concern to a major power. Plans for expansion into human space were quietly shelved. In the Sikaar Dominion, the government fell. A new administration took power, one that promised better judgment and less arrogance. They paid the reparations on time. Across the galaxy, smaller species watched what had happened. They saw that the Council could be challenged, that the old powers were not invincible. Quietly, many of them reached out to Earth, asking questions, exploring possibilities. Sarah remained on Velkera as humanity's permanent representative to the Council. Her first act was to propose a defensive alliance of smaller species. Her second was to suggest technology-sharing programs. Her third was to establish cultural exchange programs. Some Council members resisted, but others were curious, and slowly things began to change. One evening, Sarah stood at her window looking up at the stars, at Earth's sun, barely visible from this distance. She thought about everything that had happened, about the war that almost was, about the peace that might be. Her communication device beeped. A message from Admiral Hassan. Just 3 words. Fleet standing ready. Sarah smiled. The galaxy was still a dangerous place. Humanity was still the newcomer, still the small species trying to find its place. But they were not helpless. Not anymore. They had extended their hand in friendship. They had been rejected, so they had shown their strength. And now, finally, they were being treated as equals. It was not perfect, but it was progress. And for now, that was enough. Sarah typed a response to the Admiral. 3 words of her own. Pray they remember.